Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about preparing your body for IVF, IUI, egg retrieval, or any type of assisted reproductive technology. More and more women are turning to these technologies to help them get pregnant, but are being disappointed by the results because many are sold IVF or IUI or even egg retrieval as the silver bullet to all your fertility woes. But the real truth here, and what they're not telling you, is that these can be very hard on your egg quality, on your ovarian quality, on your endometrial quality. And if you go into these situations ill prepared from a body resource perspective, you might not get the result that you've been promised. And so today I'm going to tell you how you can adequately prepare your body for IVF, IUI, or egg retrieval. And just to remind you, I'm Bianca. I'm a fertility diet and lifestyle coach, a professionally trained chef, and a culinary nutritionist. And I help people get and stay pregnant, and I hope to do the same for you. Now, when it comes to making your body baby friendly, and by extension of that, IVF and IUI and egg retrieval friendly, is that you have to be thinking about your gut health. This is where your hormone function, your immune function, your nutrient absorption all happens. And if those processes are impaired, you are going to have inflammation. You are not going to be getting the most from the food that you eat. And, there's a lot of people out there that are saying now, oh, gut health is just a marketing ploy, it's just a marketing gimmick. It's not. It isn't. And the thing is maybe 100 years ago, people were touting gut health and do this and do that. Maybe it would have been a bit of a snake oil business vibe. But currently, gut health is one of the biggest impairments that we are facing as human beings. Our guts are terrible. It's leading to anxiety, inflammation, bad skin, bad periods, impaired fertility. And regardless of whether you are trying at home or you are doing assisted reproductive technology like IVF or egg retrieval or IUI, you need to be thinking about your gut health. And many people will just take a probiotic or they'll eat kimchi every now and again and think, well, I'm taking care of my gut health. But it is so much more than that. The thing about your gut is that it works best as the result of other things happening in your body. If your blood sugar is not balanced, you simply cannot have good gut health. By extension of that, the reason being is when you have a blood sugar inconsistency. So it spikes, it dips, it spikes, and then it dips. What happens is there's a cortisol response. And when that happens, your body floods all of the blood that's in your midsections to your arm and your legs in anticipation of having to run for its life or fight for it. And this means that the critical resources that your digestive system in the middle of your body needs are being diverted for other things. And again, if it's real that you do have to run for your life or fight for it, this cortisol response is very much needed. That being said, if it happens after every time you eat because you don't know how to eat the food that you're eating, this is going to cause that cortisol response, the resulting inflammation. But compounded on that is you are now not digesting your food the way you should be digesting. So the nutrients that are held within that food, you're not extracting all of them. And so again, when people talk about immune function, many people think, oh, well, that just means me getting sick, me having the flu or whatever. But when it comes to fertility, immune function is actually very important because it signals the right messages in terms of implantation and, successful implantation. Because if your body has immune function issues, it does not know how to interpret new things. So a new embryo might be seen as something bad. And so again, your body could be misinterpreting messages because your immune function is not good. And so that is why gut health is imperative. So blood sugar balance at the top end is so important for your gut health, but also making sure that you eat enough fiber. We talk about fiber all the time in, just the wellness space, but it's important because fiber is the body. It's the meat that is going to help carry through any toxins or excess hormones through our body and out through our waste. And so if you are not eating enough fiber, again, you are depriving your digestive system of something foundational and fundamental that it needs in order to digest effectively and therefore boost your fertility. And then lastly, you need to eliminate processed foods. If you are doing something like IVF, IUI, egg retrieval, these are costly interventions. And you are not respecting the investment that you are making if you are continuing to rely on processed foods. That protein shake that you drink every morning is likely processed, unless there's some good protein powders out there, but for the most part, they're not that great. That greens powder, if you are eating a lot of like protein bars, if you are eating a lot of food that have added things to it, so it's like protein pizza crust or protein chips, those things are processed, because in order to give something that doesn't have protein, you probably have to add some processing to it. You want to be eating whole, natural foods, single ingredient foods, and whether you decide to abandon whole foods after you get pregnant, after you go through your pregnancy and postpartum, be my guest. I'm here to get you pregnant and help you stay pregnant. But in this journey of trying to get pregnant, processed foods do not have a place. We want to make sure that every time we are eating food, we are introducing lots of nutrients, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, fiber, protein, carbohydrates, the good kind. And anything else needs to fall by the wayside. And again, this doesn't need to be your whole life if you don't want it to be, but if you are trying to get pregnant and you face challenges and now you find yourself looking at something like IVF, you need to take that very, very seriously as far as gut health and, by extension, your fertility is concerned. The liver cannot be overstated as one of the most important organs in our body. I would argue that next to our heart, that like literally keeps us alive, our liver is the next most important organ, because it is the processing center for hormones like estrogen and also any toxins in our body. And environmental toxins are terrible for our fertility. Again, those trying to get pregnant 100 years ago weren't facing so many of the environmental toxin influences that we face now. And a healthy liver ensures the metabolization of any excess glucose in your blood, any hormones in your system, any toxins. And so what we have to do for liver health is we first have to optimize it by giving it the things that it needs in order to do what it needs to do. And so giving your liver really healthy whole foods that have lots of enzymes and hydration and vitamins and minerals and macros, because that is going to help phase 1 liver detox. But also with the liver, and I think, again, this is the disconnect that I see in the wellness space, is people will be like, well, I'm doing a liver detox, I'm drinking this juice, and I'm doing this, that, and the other, da-da-da-da-da. But they're not talking about the things that they stop doing. And that's really important. If you are a Febreze girl, if you burn a lot of candles, if you wear a lot of perfume, if everything that you own, from your cream to your sprays and everything, is heavily fragranced, all of that needs to go. Because here's the thing, there are some environmental toxins we can't do anything about. When we step outside of our front doors, we have very little control over our exposure. That being said, we have so much control over the exposures that we have control over, like the things in our home. And when you think about the things we don't have control over, and therefore our liver has no choice but to process that, taking the pressure off of our liver by eliminating some of the toxins that we have control over means that our liver has more resources to do what it needs to do. Because if our liver is bogged down with a lot of environmental toxins, then it has less space to actually metabolize any excess hormones like estrogen, has any space to metabolize any toxins from medications we're taking or from our IVF protocol medications. And so you have to be thinking about, what are the things I can take out that are also going to boost my liver function? There's so much talk about adding things in, but it's like, what do we take out? And another thing, and I talk about it at all levels of this, is your blood sugar balance. Because also the liver is working hard to process any excess glucose in our blood. And if you are having blood sugar inconsistencies consistently, then that is adding more work for your liver to do. But once you balance your blood sugar outside of the liver having to step in and do it for you, then you allow more resources to stay in that area so that it can do the things that it needs to do. I have worked with and helped many clients reverse non-alcoholic fatty liver disease by simply helping them understand blood sugar balance, but also the influence of what taking things out can have. And so I think it's really important when you are thinking about your liver health that you are thinking about, yes, what are the foods that I can eat? Anti-inflammatory foods, liver detoxification foods, but also what are the things that I can remove? What are the habits that I can shift that will just allow the resources necessary to stay within the liver to do the crucial work that it needs to do? If your liver is bogged down, your PCOS is worse. Your egg quality is worse. Your inflammation in your body is worse. And what that means is your fertility is worse. And so you need to take taking care of your liver very seriously. Now, to that end, reversing inflammation is one of those things that happens as a result of doing all the things I just talked about. We hear so many people that talk about you've got high inflammation, you've got to reduce your inflammation, but they never really tell you how. Inflammation does not happen on its own. It happens as a result of something. And so understanding how to reduce your inflammation means you understand how to stop causing inflammation in the first place. So chronic inflammation will absolutely thwart your egg health, your ovarian health, your endometrial health, your overall fertility, and just like your overall vibes. Like if you are inflamed, you are tired, you are fatigued, your mood and your temper is short, you don't feel like you eat and you actually feel good from it. You could sleep for hours and wake up and still be tired. Inflammation is total body. It hits you on all angles. And that is why, again, it is important to understand that it happens as a result of something. And so if you have lowered inflammation, it means you have a healthy uterine environment, a healthy fertile environment in your body, so that something like IVF or IUI or egg retrieval actually gives you the results that you want. And the thing about reducing inflammation and understanding how to manage your inflammation means that you will have the stop gaps in place before you enter into something like IVF, IUI, egg retrieval, which causes inflammation in and of its own. And so it's not to say that these aren't amazing technologies and like, thank you so much for the science. That being said, we can't just rely on the science alone. There is work that we can do in order to get our bodies and do our side of the equation so that when the science is introduced, it actually has the benefit that we want. And so when you're thinking about reducing inflammation, again, balancing your blood sugar, because every time you have a blood sugar inconsistency, you will have a cortisol response, and the result of that is inflammation. So balancing your blood sugar, but also understanding that rest is so important. What people don't understand is this breakneck speed that we go at in this modern world is incredibly inflammatory. You know, we look at people who want to sleep in and just chill and rot in bed, but they're probably really inflamed and they just cannot anymore. And so rest is crucial. If given the option between working out or staying in bed longer, you stay in bed longer. And this doesn't mean that it's perpetual, like you just never work out, but it means that if your body is craving rest, you give it to it. Because your body is using rest as a way to restore other functions. Because when you're operating at a breakneck speed, there are little resources that are able to be used for things like reproductive health and fertility. And so you want to be thinking about, if I'm using my energy here, where is it going to take from? And often it's from your fertility, because that is a luxury function. You do not need your fertility in order to live. You don't. That being said, you need to be able to breathe, you need to be able to do all these other things, and you need to have lowered cortisol and all these things. And so you want to be thinking about that when you're thinking about rest. Being restful is not being lazy. It's actually being very nourishing to your body. Another thing is omega fatty acids. I believe so strongly in omega fatty acid supplementation. It's crazy, especially when we are talking about egg quality, when we are talking about hormones. If you have hormonal issues, you have to start introducing more fat. Good fat, like omega fatty acids, ancestral fats like beef tallow, butter, ghee, avocado oil, things like that. You want to avoid things like seed oils, which can be inflammatory. I know they say they're fine, but they said red dye was fine. And look, now it's not fine. And so I would rather be safe than sorry, in my opinion. And so all of my clients, we remove any of the seed oils and we put in some of these ancestral fats. In addition to omega fatty acids, and not just supplementation, but also consuming. Because if you can find food sources for your supplements, that's great, because you're not just getting the omega fatty acid, you're also probably getting some fiber, maybe you're getting some protein, you're getting some additional amino acids and things like that. And so if you can double up with supplement and food source, I love that for you, because that means you're getting it from all angles and you're getting more than just the supplement itself. And the last thing about inflammation is you want to stop eating processed foods. I know that this sounds crazy in this, the Lord's year 2025, to say like, don't eat processed foods, but they are so bad for us. They are so heavily processed. There's not a lot that can be derived from them. And the thing that's really interesting to note is that many people who struggle with the disease of obesity and eat a lot of processed foods, if you were to look at their panels, blood work and everything, it would point to malnourishment, even though they eat a lot. And that has to do with the fact that most of these foods are devoid of any nutrient benefit. Plus, if you're not eating it correctly, again, not according to the laws of blood sugar, then those foods, again, you're not getting the nutrients that you need from it because your body is not in a position to do so. And so when it comes to getting ready and preparing yourself for IVF, IUI, egg retrieval, or even just trying naturally at home, you must understand inflammation and how to reduce it in your body. And the last thing that I don't think I see people talk about enough is hydration. Hydration and circulation are so important for getting pregnant. Circulation issues are not a good thing. Like if your hands and feet are always cold, we have to address that before we go into some of these assisted reproductive technologies, because we want to make sure that the resources that we can control are under control. And so being sure to hydrate. And the thing is in North America, you need to actually add minerals back to your water, because a lot of the minerals have been pulled out of our water through a demineralization process, which means that there isn't the minerals there to signal to our cells to open and hold the hydration. And so I always say to people, when you are drinking your water, you're adding a little bit of lime or lemon juice for liver health, but you're also adding a little bit of Redmond's Celtic sea salt. It's the highest mineral content sea salt that you can get. You get on Amazon, you get in grocery stores, you can get at bulk stores. I mean, it's pretty readily available. But circulation requires hydration. And if you are drinking water all the time, yet you still feel thirsty, you still feel dry, there is an absorption issue that we need to resolve by adding minerals to our water. Now, I'm going to caution you against things like mineral or, electrolyte powders, because some of them are heavily sweetened. We don't want to be introducing any sugar when we're trying to introduce hydration. That's not the vibe. There are unsweetened ones that you can absolutely take, but these are very salty. And we don't want to cause dehydration from doing too much salt, but we also don't want to be underhydrated because we don't have enough of these minerals in our body. And so I simply take a pinch, an adult-sized pinch of Redmond's Celtic sea salt. I put it in my water every single morning, and I also add a little bit of lime and lemon juice, and that helps with circulation. Another thing that helps with circulation is exercise, sweating, movement. But I've talked about this before, and I'm going to repeat it. The type of exercise that you do is so important. It needs to be things like walking, weightlifting, things that get you sweating but aren't like you're dying. That's not the point. That is not what we are trying to do here. And so I think it's so important that we understand that all of these things are things that we have control over. You have control over your hydration. You have control over what happens with your liver, what happens with your gut, how you balance your blood sugar. And once you understand the things that you can control, you don't go into these situations feeling disenfranchised or disempowered or like you don't have any agency. Instead, you can go into these conversations and in these situations and be like, I am ready. I have done my side of the equation and I'm ready to be in control. And that's really important for not just how you feel physically, but also how you feel emotionally as well. It is my belief that giving your body 3 to 6 months of preparation before you really start attacking with things like IUI, or egg retrieval is so crucial to success in those areas. That is what you are not being told. And again, I'm not a hater of these assisted reproductive technologies. I'm actually very grateful that we have them. It has given women choice and options and all these different things. That being said, there are things that you are not being told before you enter into those obligations. And so giving yourself 3 to 6 months to boost and do all of the work that we talked about will help you get a better outcome. And it's not a shot in the dark. This isn't just like hooey and cockamamie talk. It's just actually facts. These are things that you can do that will have a lasting effect on your egg quality, but also just how you feel. Because that's one of the things we don't have a diagnostic for. We have diagnostics for how many eggs you have, how they respond to stimulation, but we don't have any tests for egg quality. So doing the work on the front end, on the front foot of getting yourself baby ready, IVF ready, your body is ready to withstand some of the tough and often heavy IVF drug protocols, means that you are actually likely to get a better outcome and a better result, but also have a more nourished pregnancy, a better postpartum, because all of this leads into the next. How you feel going into conception is how your pregnancy is going to go. If you go in depleted, you're going to notice that in your pregnancy. And then you are absolutely going to notice that in your postpartum, because it's impossible to catch up once you're pregnant. Your body is doing too much at that point. So getting your body baby ready and resource rich before any of this is going to mean so much to your success and how you feel, how you lean into the process. For many women, having children over 40, it's like they want to be one and done. I want you to enjoy the whole process. Regardless of how you get pregnant, I want when you are pregnant that you feel good, you feel energized, you feel like your body is up to the challenge of pregnancy, because it's like running a marathon for 9 months. And then you have to run another marathon of birth, and then you have to run another marathon of breastfeeding and healing. And I want to make sure that at every step that you feel like you are equipped, but it starts at the preconception phase. All right. And so if you want a personalized IVF, IUI, egg retrieval prep plan that considers you, we'll talk about supplements, food, all of that, send me a DM, write a comment, and I'll be in touch. And if you liked this video, please comment, please share, please like, and of course, please subscribe if you want this type of information delivered to you with ease. It is my pleasure to help you understand how you can take your power back in these scenarios. It can feel very powerless dealing with fertility challenges, but I want you to know there are things that you absolutely have control over, regardless of how you are attempting to get pregnant. And I hope that you feel seen and you feel heard, and you also feel hopeful from the information that I share. And I'll see you next time.